Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Wednesday morning. The next book that we're going to talk about, it gave me a flashback, Robin. As you know, years ago when I was a kid, basically, in my 20s, I worked at the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island. Mm-hmm. And I've told you about the hockey games. I've told you about the ice skating girls. I've told you about the basketball games and the concerts. I never told you about the circus that came to the Coliseum. When the circus, and it came there more than once, and I don't remember which circus, but anyway, when the circus came to the Coliseum, the train that the animals were on, the tracks to the railroad didn't come really close to the Coliseum. So the animals had to walk, and it was it was a parade of animals.
Not in cages? They had to walk outside?
They walked them. They walked them, and I don't remember every animal, but I remember them walking elephants. I remember they walked them from the train. I don't think it was a station, but there was a place where they were able to stop the train and get the animals off, and they walked them.
Wow,
it was kind of a cool thing to witness, and I just forgot all about that part of
awesome.
one of my memories. Paul Binder's on the phone. He has a lot of experience with the circus, and he's one of those guys who ran away to join the circus. He's from Brooklyn. I think he was touring around in Europe. I think it started out in France. He's the founder of the Big Apple Circus. He worked as a stage manager for Julia Child's television show, The French Chef. He worked as a talent coordinator for Merv Griffin, a juggler, and I'll give you a little tip. He's a chicken juggler. Funny story in the book, by the way. He was honored by ABC TV World News with the Charles Gibson as Person of the Week. He was honored by New York Landmarks Conservancy as a New York City Living Landmark.
Now that is
so
cool.
He and the Naked Cowboy. He's got this wonderful book. It's called Never Quote the Weather to a Sea Lion. It's just a very, very enjoyable book. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm well, Larry. How are you?
Good. A landmark. That is awesome.
That is
you, the Empire State Building, and the Naked Cowboy.
They can't tear me down. But the Naked Cowboy is not a living landmark. I think he's more of a living underwear guy.
He's a one-man circus. Yeah.
Well, I don't use that word pejoratively, Larry. Circus could be a very beautiful thing. I think the Big Apple Circus is a great example.
Yeah,
how beautiful and inspiring it can be.
I want to hear the story. I want you to share the story with the listeners, is what I should say. The story's in the book. I love the story about the juggling chicken story, though. With the
that was in our first season, and the New York posted a preview article about the Big Apple Circus. We had in our act, Michael Christensen and I had a rubber chicken. We called him Leonard. He was our third partner. And we did a comedy juggling act, and Leonard got thrown into the juggling mix at some point. And then actually, he would get thrown up, and Michael would catch him in a frying pan, and I'd say, "What's that?" And he'd say, "That's chicken cacciatore."
Oh,
Never mind.
no.
Oh, yeah, it was that bad. But it did get laughs. Well, the New York Post did a preview article in which it said Michael and Paul, the chicken jugglers. So this was early on. A New York City police car pulled up in front of the circus tent, the Big Apple Circus tent, which at that point was down in Battery Park City, and out stepped two uniformed police officers. It turns out, and on the side of it was Humane Law Enforcement Division.
Oh, no.
On the side of the police. It's an actual New York City Police Department. And I wondered to myself, there's a whole division devoted to humane law enforcement, Should they humanely handle?
Well, there's a coyote running around up in the uptown.
We heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're up here on the Upper West Side. He could be right.
Oh, yeah, you're near him. You're near that coyote.
Yeah. But anyway, so they walk in. They actually had a copy of the newspaper in their hands. They said, "We want to see Michael and Paul, the chicken jugglers," because that's what the thing said, the chicken jugglers.
Right.
So I said, "I'm Paul. Michael's back here around the back. Come on, let's go see." And I'm sort of saying to myself, "Oh, this is going to be some piece of work." So as we get in the back, and there's Michael sitting back there. He's next to our little suitcases just full of the equipment. And I said, "That's Michael." And the police say, "Okay, we want to see the chickens." Michael says, "Well, there's only one. There's only just one." So he says, "You want to see him?" "Okay." And he opens the suitcase, and there's Leonard the rubber chicken lying on the top of the equipment. and
Wait till you hear the end of this thing. This is a good story.
The cop says, "That's it? That's the chicken?" And Michael says, "Yeah, that's him. He's the only one." And he looks at him. He says, "Why? Do you want to? Shall I take him out?" He says, "No, no." The cop says, "Leave him alone. He looks exhausted." And that was it. We thanked them for their concern.
Yeah.
But
wow.
Yeah.
So
I guess the SPCA and the New York City Police actually work together, and so
But on a serious note, what are your thoughts about the humane, not the Humane Society necessarily,
PETA.
but like PETA or the SPCA or what is it called, ASPCA, whatever it is.
The Humane Society and PETA, but the United States Humane Society.
But the whole idea of them picking on the elephants and some of the other animals in the circus, what are your thoughts about that?
I think PETA is way over the top. I mean, in essence, they don't believe in caring for, I would call it animal welfare. They call it animal rights, okay? Meaning animal husbandry has always been part of human beings' existence, working with animals, getting along with animals, interacting with animals, and particularly working animals. And, Asian elephants are working animals. They have been for centuries. And in fact, there are very few in the wild. The Asian elephants are basically, working animals within the societies. They're in Thailand and India and so on. So the notion that they're somehow saving wild animals seems to be way over the top. Now, what I'm got, and a few days after the decision, I actually called Kenneth Feld at Feld Entertainment, who are the Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey people, and I said, "Well, tell me about the decision." He said, "Look, what's happened is PETA has asked and fought for local regulations preventing the presentation of elephants, amongst which are Los Angeles County. You're not allowed to do it there. And a lot of local regulations suddenly have made it very, very expensive for ringling birds to care for and bring elephants, and they can't present them as part of their show. But on the other hand, Ringling Brothers, Feld Entertainment rather, owns 200 acres in Central Florida, in which they have an elephant conservation center for the care, breeding, and study of Asian elephants.
Is that the one in Williston, Robin?
You know what? I don't know which town it is.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think we know of it.
Yeah, we have one in Williston.
Is that near you?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're in Ocala, but and it would appear, and that's where there are only 13 elephants still on the road with the circus. Is what I've read, and eventually they're going to be retired to that facility, and I think it's probably a wonderful retirement. And they study Asian elephants. They come from all over the world to study elephants.
Wow.
So anyway, I think it was primarily an economic decision. I think that PETA and others have that the attitude of the public, there's great concern about the handling of animals. But my experience, and I know lots of people over the years who have worked for Ringling, and I certainly spent a lot of time with their trainers and so on. They take very good care of their animals. It's always been in their interest to do that.
Yeah,
So-
it sure would.
Yeah.
We had a circus here in Ocala, well, more than once, but I remember one time watching them set up the tents, and the elephants were the ones pulling the ropes. It was just an amazing thing to watch.
Oh yeah, but there are several tented circuses that still have elephants.
Yeah.
Cole Brothers, I know, is in a big tent.
I think that was the one.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
Colbert. All right, Paul Binder is our guest. We need to take a little break, Paul. I want to find out about you, and I want to be fair to the book. The book is really fun.
Thanks.
So let's take our break, and we'll be right back to talk some more about this. And just if you could tell your story, how you got into the circus, it's intriguing to me. Paul Binder, his book again is called "Never Quote the Weather to a Sea Lion." We'll find out about that story as well when we come back.
Thanks.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Clouds and a couple of showers to start, then some sunshine later today with a high of 82 at the coast, 88 inland. Partly to mostly cloudy tonight, though 64 to 68. Mostly cloudy tomorrow with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, the high 83 to 87. For Friday, some sunshine, still a shower and thunderstorm or two around, the high 84 to 88. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Hi, Danny Werfel here. Get moving with Florida Credit Union's fast and easy loan approval process.
Let Florida Credit Union start up a new car loan for you today. No more waiting, hassles, or stop signs. You can even apply online. With a strong financial team behind you, you can enjoy great rates and fast approvals.
It's all about personalized service and a streamlined process.
Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life.
All right, 14 minutes before 10 o'clock. When I was a kid, I had a Polaroid camera. I bought it through the mail. I had to make payments every month out of my allowance. And the circus came, and I went to the circus with my Polaroid camera and took pictures of it. And everything was, I mean, you could see it fine from the seat, but the Polaroid camera had a tendency to take a large area and put it into a little tiny 3-inch piece of paper. So when I got home, I was showing everybody my pictures, and like all you could see was like these lights, and you really couldn't see elephants, you really couldn't see clowns, you really couldn't see the ringleader. It was a 3-ring circus. I remember that. So I had to, tell the stories, and that's kind of maybe why I'm enjoying this conversation.
You've
Yeah,
learned.
Larry, in New York City, when they come to Madison Square Garden, that train parks out in Queens, in the train yards in Queens, and in the middle of the night, they walk the elephants through the Lincoln Tunnel.
Wow. I didn't know that. See, what I was referring to was,
Years.
do you know the Coliseum, right, on Long Island? You know the Nassau Coliseum?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so I remember the elephants and the other animals walking there as well.
Well, elephants and horses do the walking, but I'm not. The others are in cages.
Elephants and what?
Horses.
Horses.
Oh, horses. I thought you said oysters.
Yeah. Well, maybe maybe some oysters.
All right. So how did you get involved with the circus? Did you grow up in Brooklyn?
I did. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and actually, I actually went to high school out in Long Island, so I was probably a neighbor of yours.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school in West Hempstead.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Merrick, in North Merrick.
Yeah, and then I got very lucky and got into Dartmouth College. So I had 4 years in New Hampshire as my college.
And what when you decided to join the circus, was it? I think I read somewhere it was in Europe, or am I right?
Yeah, well, it's a tale told by an idiot, so I'll be glad to tell it to you. Somewhere along the way, and as you said, I worked for Julia Child and I worked for Merv Griffin. And at one point, working for Merv, I was assigned to do a story out in San Francisco. I came across the San Francisco Mime Troupe, which was a theater company that performed outdoors in the parks in San Francisco. And I was blown away. I just said, this is amazing stuff they're doing. And I said to myself, I just want to be in that company. I had been in the Dartmouth Players and the Hopkins Center Repertory Theater, and I did an audition for them. And the next thing I knew, I was in this company called the San Francisco Mime Troupe. I gave notice at with Griffin, moved out to the Bay Area, and became a member of that company. And that's where I learned the circus skills.
Oh, wow.
We trained in circus skills.
So what was what were you doing in the circus? Were you a performer?
Yeah, I was a juggler.
You juggling was your exclusive thing. Okay.
I developed a comedy juggling act. Then we toured. Michael Christensen and myself put together a juggling act. We met each other in England, where he was working on a farm, put an act together in a barn, took it to London, and then we traveled all the way on the streets. We traveled all the way from London to Istanbul, making our living as street performers. And then we came back and eventually got recruited into a circus in Paris.
Wow.
And we toured France with a beautiful little theatrical one-ring circus. And that was the inspiration for the Big Apple Circus. That I suddenly discovered that this one-ring environment had an enormous amount of magic and power as possibility. And it was a theatrical form that I was listening to this audience. I kept on saying to me, I said, look at how magical it can be. And so that was the inspiration for the Big Apple Circus.
Oh, I love that.
You've learned life lessons along the way. I liked your story about Jackie Robinson.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was when I was a kid. It was maybe 9 years old, and I was alone at Ebbets Field. And and the Dodgers won the pennant that day, and with thousands of other fans, because in that day you could do that. I jumped onto the field in excitement. I was delirious with excitement. I think I was 9 years old at the time. And I noticed coming in from the Dodger bullpen, which was along the right field line, I was on the left field line, a kid jumped up, grabbed Carl Erskine's hat, and ran away with it. I said, oh, boy. And at that moment, out of the corner of my eye, there's Jackie Robinson trotting in from left field. And I was so excited, I jumped on his back with excitement. Can you imagine? Now, I've got to tell you, he was a very big, strong guy. Jackie Robinson had been an All-American running back at UCLA. And my first reaction, remember, I was still a kid. I went, wow, this guy is huge. And he sort of shed me like he would a tackler, you know. And as I slid off his back, I grabbed his hat off his head. And what I didn't count on is that he would grab it back. So there we were, as I say in the book, Paul Lewis Binder and Jack Roosevelt Robinson in a grim tug of war for the possession of a used Brooklyn Dodger baseball cap.
Wow. What a great story.
He looked me right in the eye, and he said, no. And I said, magic, this is Jackie Robinson I'm talking about. I let go.
Tried to steal that.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know, I mean, where, if there's any recording of it, but he actually had this was a very big, strong guy. He had a high-pitched voice, so it was sort of doubly shocking to hear him say.
Is that right? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my encounter with Jackie Robinson.
Tell us the story behind the title of the book.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't want to give it away. You're going to have to go out and get the book.
There you
Okay.
go.
Get it from Amazon or from my website, which is paulbindercircus.com. It can be ordered that way. A little bit of a discount.
All right.
But anyway, it's a story about sea lions. We had sea lions in the show. Wonderful act with a big, 600-800-pound Patagonian sea lion. They're huge, and a little Pacific sea lion who was a comedy act. Robbie Gasser, who was a Swiss trainer from a water park in Switzerland, had brought them to this country. And this is the story. They refused to leave their tank. They lived in a big trailer with a big tank because of what we thought was the weather, a downpour, which didn't make sense. I mean, these are animals that live in water. But the story will tell you why they refused to come out.
Oh, okay. All right.
Never quote the weather to a sea lion and other uncommon tales.
Yeah, that's the title of the book. We'll make sure we mention it before we wrap it up and give out the websites and stuff like that.
Oh, I wanted to also let everybody know that Glenn Close wrote the foreword for this book. Of course, I worked with her on the Broadway production of Barnum. And, what a fabulous actress she is.
Oh, she's wonderful. I love her.
Yeah. Yeah, she's very special. So,
You do have some romantic stories in your book also, and how you impromptu did things with the circus that you didn't know would take off, like you're leading the band.
yeah, exactly. That was a piece called "So You Want to Lead a Band," and it came out of a moment of desperation because I happened to be the clown in that show. It was a little stage version that we were doing for school kids at Town Hall in New York City, and they had a rigging problem. Well, we had a 4-piece band at that little show, and so I came dancing out to the music to try to cover the rigging problem. And the next thing I know, the band, I found I could wave my arms and the band would follow. Okay, and that if I made a cross stop, they would stop. Or I was very lucky that they went with me, if you follow me. It was unrehearsed.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and so then I realized if I did it fast, they'd go fast. And if I did it slow, they'd go slow. And then I said, oh, this is a gem. And I went into the audience and took some kids up one at a time, and they did it. And eventually it became a piece So You Want to Lead a Band. The evolution of it was I would bring an adult in after the kids did it, and the adult would start directing the band, and the band would give them what we call a discordant hash.
Oh,
squeak,
nice.
squeak, squawk, toodle, boom.
That's funny stuff.
And I'd look and suggest that perhaps the guy had dirty hands and I would clean his hands.
That is great. That's great stuff.
Yeah, it became a regular piece. Several of the clowns did it after. That, I mean, when I was a clown, but very brief. I did it once also at the Boston Pops. We did a show at the Boston Pops, the Big Apple Circus, the entire 80-piece orchestra and the Big Apple Circus.
Oh, wow.
And so I was already the ringmaster by then, but they transformed me into a clown. So I got to lead the Boston Symphony Orchestra
Wow.
with 40 violins. So, as I said to Robin, my life's just been a great adventure. One wonderful event after another.
And I think that's why I've enjoyed the conversation and why the book is so enjoyable. I'm a fan of genuineness, and I'm a fan of biographies, and the two come together with this book.
Thanks.
Let me give away the copy that you sent us. Not that I want to, because I'd like to. I haven't finished it, so I'd like to continue reading it. But don't let that.
Finish it, then give it away.
No. I'll buy my own copy.
Yeah.
I want
I like that even better.
Yeah, I want a listener to get this one. The book is called "Never Quote the Weather to a Sea Lion." It's written by Paul Binder. Call me if you want that, Paul, sent to us. You can have this one, and trust me, I will buy my own. I'll get the Kindle version because that's kind of what I'm doing lately. If you have one, is there a Kindle version?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So the rest of us have to go buy it. How do we do that? Do you have a website set up for this?
PaulBinderCircus.com, and
Okay.
I'll autograph the copies that I send, with free shipping.
Okay.
You can also get it at Amazon, and Amazon Prime, sells it at a discount as well.
Okay.
And you have wonderful photographs in your book along with illustrations.
Oh.
Really great.
I wanted to ask you one. I'm from New York, but I don't know. When you say, I know where Battery Park is, but I never heard of an area called Battery Park City.
Battery Park City was the landfill that eventually was, they built an enormous number of apartment houses and a couple of office buildings on the landfill next to Battery Park.
On the Lower West Side?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I know what you mean now. Okay, yeah, because I saw the one picture of you. You were setting up, or they were setting up the circus near the World Trade Center. When it was still there.
Exactly. That was our first season. That's where we were at our first season.
Wow, I never knew that was called Battery Park City. All right, give me this one away. Good morning. You've got this book. Who's this?
My name's Marcia.
Marcia, you've got the book. Do you know where we are?
Yes, sir, I do.
In the mall. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What do you need to know? Do you know where?
Is it all right if I wait till Monday to pick it up? I'm working the Henry Camp tournament.
Oh, no problem. It'll be waiting for you, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, Marcia. Thank you for calling.
I've seen the circus. It's fantastic.
Oh, it's a fan right there. Paul?
Yes.
That's great. That's
I've
great.
seen it in New York and around the country.
Oh, great.
Marcia,
Thank you
that's
very
one.
much.
That's one. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Paul, we've got 10 seconds. Thank you so much for being on the air with us. What a great interview. I love this conversation. I love the book. Good luck with it, and come back to be on with us again.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Robin.
All right.
Anytime. I'm delighted.
This is WOCA Ocala.
News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Police in France say they've thwarted a terror plot, but only because the suspect accidentally shot himself before he had a chance to carry out an attack aimed at churches.
The suspect also accused of shooting dead a woman at random this past weekend.